Today we're going to look at digital citizenship and how to promote that digital citizenship in your classroom with your students. This slideshow has a number of resources that I'm going to share with you later on. I've got 7 sites that you can visit to get lessons and ideas to share with your students. So without any further ado, we'll get started. So as Jessica mentioned, I've been with Chignecto Central Regional Centre for Education since 1985. I taught phys ed for 18 years, and since 2005, I've been a technology integration specialist with my board. So our agenda today, we're going to look at what is digital citizenship. We're going to look at the importance of creating passwords for your students, having students creating their own passwords and how they can change them and how they can strengthen them. We're going to talk about some different strategies for students, how to be safe online. We're going to look at private information and personal information. We're going to look at some steps to keeping children safe online. And as I mentioned, we're going to look at some really good resources to help you plan some lessons for your students. And then we'll open up to some questions at the end. So what is digital citizenship and why is it important? Digital citizenship refers to responsible technology usage. Teaching digital citizenship is essential to helping students achieve and understand digital literacy, as well as ensuring cyberbullying prevention, online safety, digital responsibility, and digital health and wellness. So if you talk to administrators in schools, you will find a lot of them will tell you that they spend a lot of their time dealing with issues around technology with their students, especially at the middle school level. There's a lot of reasons for that. Students, personally, I feel that students, they have got a device in their hand that's a very powerful piece of technology, and they can access many, many different media platforms. And the maturity level, unfortunately, sometimes does not allow them to make great decisions. So administrators do spend a lot of their time having to navigate and resolve a lot of issues revolving around digital citizenship. So it's really important to, I think, have these discussions with your students, especially at the early grades. The earlier the better. I've got an activity here that I'll share with you that you can maybe do with your students, and it revolves around creating a word cloud and having them create a word cloud about keywords. So if you haven't used this before, I've got a hyperlink right here. It'll take you to WordArt, and you simply click on Create Now. So what you're going to do is you're going to list your words here at the top. So I'm just going to type in a couple of words here. I'll go with safe, and then responsible, and then respect, okay, so then what you're going to do is you're going to weigh each of these words. So I want citizenship to be the most powerful word in my cloud. So I'm going to weigh that and make it, say, a 7. And then I'll go with maybe safe. I'll make that a 5. And then responsible, a 3. And I'll leave the other 2 at 1. All right. Down here at the bottom, you've got different shapes that you can choose for your cloud. I'm just going to go with a cloud here. And then you can choose a font of your choice. Lots of great choices. And then for your layout, you've got 10 different choices here. I'm going to go with horizontal, vertical, and crossing. And then the last part here, for style, you can choose different colors for your words. So if you go to custom here, you can add some other colors to your palette. And let's delete that one. I want a red one. Add to palette. And there's also random colors too. Okay, so then when you're done, you simply say visualize, and there's your cloud. So students can then go up to go to download, and you want to save as a PNG, and then they can upload that word cloud to a slideshow or to into Google Classrooms. So you would simply just create a question or an assignment there for students to hand that in. So if you haven't done clouds before, that's a nice nice activity to start with, perhaps. ISTE, the International Society for Technology and Education, describes digital citizenship as using technology to improve your community, engaging respectfully online with people who have different beliefs than you, using technology to make your voice heard by public leaders and to shape public policy, and determining the validity of online sources of information. So that's a couple of comments from ISTE. So there are basically 6 main categories for digital citizenship. The first one being media balance and well-being, digital footprint and identity, privacy and security, news and media literacy, relationship and communication. And the last one, cyberbullying, digital drama, and hate speech. So those are your main categories. I've got a video here, which I'm not going to play right now. You can actually open my slideshow later and play it on at your own convenience. It's not going to play right now because I'm sharing my screen and not a tab. So we'll skip that, and you can watch that later at your own convenience. So we're going to spend a couple minutes talking about passwords today. So is your password safe, and what can you do to make it safer? I've got a link to a website here called DinoPass. You might want to share this with your students. It's just a password generator that you can share with your students, and it's just going to generate passwords that are fairly secure for students. These have 8 characters, some numbers, special characters. They've got a simple category, and they've got a stronger category. So it's something you might want to share with your students. So as they go through here, it's just going to generate different passwords for your students. Fuzzy Cooper 26, that's a pretty good one. Be nice if it had a capital letter in it. And if I go over here to the stronger passwords, okay, so now they've got the capital letters, special characters, and at least 8 characters. So that's DinoPass. And sometimes when you ask students to create a password, they kind of draw a blank. So this is something that you could share with them. Something else too, you probably experienced students creating passwords in your classroom, and a few weeks later, they come back from a long weekend or maybe after the Christmas holidays, and they forget their passwords. So what I sometimes do is I have teachers have the students write their password that they've created, and the password that they've created for their GNSPAS, write it on a piece of paper, and then have them put it into an envelope and seal the envelope and put their name on the envelope. And then when the student happens to forget their password, you can simply take the envelope, return it to the student. The password is secure. The teacher doesn't know what it is, and the student can open the envelope and get a reminder, open it up and see what it is, and then reseal the envelope. So that's a little trick that some teachers use, and it comes in kind of handy. So as you know, there are some students in your class that will forget their passwords that they just created a while back. And so it's important for the password to be secure and for them to be the only one that knows it. So you're teaching those skills that they're going to be using moving forward. So that's DinoPass. On the next slide, we're going to look at some passwords, 3 of them that are relatively weak, and 3 of them are going to be much stronger. So what makes a strong password? So as you can see, the second fourth and sixth one are much stronger passwords. They all include a capital letter, there are at least 8 characters, they have a special character, and they have a number. So those are things you should be encouraging your students to do when they're creating their passwords, so they're not easily figured out by other students. Students in upper elementary school are encouraged to update their GNSPAS passwords from those issued in September. So my board, my supervisor, my colleague, we're usually recommending students in grades, at least in grade 5, sometimes in grade 4, for those students to be updating their passwords from those that are issued in September. Sometimes when students have difficulty resetting their password, you can help them. Okay, so if the student is in your Power Schools, on your launch page, you will see self-service. All right, so all you have to do is click on that, log in with your username and your password, and then click on modify. And then all you have to do is type in the student's student ID number, and then you can change their password for them. Okay, students' passwords should never be changed without the student's knowledge. Okay, so you can actually do that for them if they're having difficulty doing that. I've got a link up here to a Google Doc that's going to explain those steps for you. All right, so like I said, on the GNSPAS launch page, you simply go down to self-service, put in your username and your password, your GNSPAS username and password. And then you're going to click on modify. And then you're going to enter the student's ID number. There we go. So enter your student's ID number, and then scroll down just a little bit on the page, and then you're going to be able to put in a new password. All right. So a lot of times for my students, what I'll do is I'll choose the first 3 letters of their first name, and then the first 3 letters of their last name, and then maybe I'll ask them what their favorite number is, and I'll put a special character in there as well. And write that down, put it in the envelope, seal it, and put that in your filing cabinet. And if the student happens to forget it, you can return the envelope, and they'll have their password. Okay, so let's go back here a bit. Okay, so being safe online, what can you do to keep yourself safe? Another video, which you can watch later at your own leisure. Some questions to maybe share with your students, some questions for your students. Do they chat online? Where and how? Do they know who they're chatting with? And can you ever really know if that person is male or female? Do you know their age? Can you be sure? So younger students sometimes have difficulty with these things, so it's important to have conversations with your students. Next, we're going to look at what is private information. So private information involves all of these things. Of course, it's personal private information that's very important, that should be kept to yourself. And if someone is asking for any of this information, students should be made aware that they should be sharing this with a trusted adult, and let the teacher or parents know that someone is asking questions that they shouldn't be asking. So all of those things are private information and should be kept personal. So it's in our students' nature to share and to connect with others, especially with the internet being what it is these days and the amount of time that students spend online. But sharing online comes with some risks. So how can we help students build strong, positive, and safe relationships online? Help your students learn the difference between what's personal and what's best left private. So I've got a link here to a lesson that's at commonsense.org. This would be a really good one to start with. And it's a lesson about personal and private information, what information about you is okay to share online. So even though this says grade 4, this is something you can use with students in grades, upper grades, grades 6 and 7, maybe middle school as well, if you're feeling your students would benefit from this lesson. And that's not to say you couldn't use it at the lower grades as well. If you haven't used commonsense.org, I'd highly recommend that you go to their website and create an account. It's one of my favorite places to go for lessons. They've got lessons all the way from primary to grade 12, and the lessons are fantastic. All right, next we're going to look at 7 steps to keeping children safe online. So why should we teach digital citizenship, especially in the lower grades? Well, it's really important to have these discussions with students in lower elementary. I think the younger the better. I think it's important for you to teach them the concept of what a digital footprint is, because as you know, when content is posted on the internet, it's very difficult to have it erased. With your older students, you can have discussions about internet usage laws. Teach cyber literacy, know your sources. Teach cyber literacy, recognizing propaganda when you see it. Give students the tools to handle negativity on the internet, and that's a really big issue these days. Include lessons on digital privacy. And another good suggestion is sometimes to bring in a guest speaker into your classroom. So the next part of my slideshow here is we're going to look at some resources that you can use for planning lessons with your students. So the first one, Google's Be Internet Awesome. Number 2, commonsense.org. I mentioned that just a few minutes ago. That's probably my favorite one to go to. Microsoft has a site called Digital Citizenship EDU. Another one, number 4 here, is tolearn.ca. That's a Canadian one. And MediaSmarts is also Canadian as well. Google has a site called Digital Wellbeing. And the last one here, I've got an activity book for you that was created by the people at Book Creator. So these are some resources we're going to look at, and we'll just spend a few minutes talking about each particular one. So Google's Be Internet Awesome is designed to teach students in a fun way how to be safe online, helping students be safe, confident explorers of the online world. The site basically is a gamification via Interland. Interland is an adventure-packed online game that makes learning about digital safety and citizenship interactive and fun, just like the internet itself. Here, kids will combat hackers and bullies, all the while practicing the skills they need to be good digital citizens. So that's Google's Internet Be Awesome. So like I said, it's got a sort of a gamification factor to it, which students enjoy. So that's something you might want to share with your students. It also has tools for home as well, and it's got lots of different slideshows that you can share with your students. Okay, so the next one is commonsense.org, and this is probably my favorite one. I've been a huge fan of this particular site for a number of years. Reason being is they've got a huge number of lessons that you can find for various grade levels on various topics. The site is very well organized, so they have it broken down into those main categories that we talked about before: media well balance, privacy and security, digital footprint and identity. They've got relationship and communication, cyberbullying, news and media. So those main categories are all covered on the site. When you go to the site, it's important that you sign up, because when you sign up, you actually have access to all the lessons, and the lessons are free. And we're going to go visit the site in a few seconds. You can filter by grade level. It used to be from grade 3 to grade 12, but now it's from primary all the way to grade 12. And that being said, like I said, if you have a lesson that you find, like that grade 4 lesson I mentioned before, you can definitely use that with older grades or younger grades. Don't feel that you have to be locked in to that exact lesson at that particular grade level. The lessons are fantastic. You do not have to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. The lessons include slideshows and take-home resources and extensions to continue the conversation within the family. Okay, so this is commonsense.org. I'm going to go to Common Sense Education. I'm going to log in. I'm going to sign in with my Google account. Okay, so you can see I've already created my account previously, and there's my name. So I'm going to go over here to Digital Citizenship and over to Lesson Plans. Okay, so you can filter by grade level. So I'm going to go over here to grade 4. And privacy and security. And let's go to grade 4 again. There we go, apply. Looking for that lesson that I was, where my link was broken before. So there it is there. So private and personal information. So you give it a click, open it up. So as I scroll down here, it's got an introduction. Okay, it tells you what key points the lesson is going to address, and then key vocabulary words. Okay, and then it's going to break it down and show you exactly how long the lesson will approximately take. All right, over here on the right-hand side, you've got class resources. They have a slideshow that you can open up. You can save the lesson as a PDF and share that in your Google Classroom. All right. Right now it's view only, so you could go to File and you can make a copy and make some modifications if you wanted to, if it wasn't exactly what you wanted. So this particular one here has 10 slides. Okay, so the lessons are really well thought out. And like I said, they've got lots of other activities that you can use within the lesson. So this one has a video, it's got student handouts, it's got an exit ticket, it even has a quiz that you can link to your Google Classroom. It's got a family take-home activity, and lots of great resources that you can use. So that's just one particular example. Okay, so that's commonsense.org, and lots of great lessons. Back here, lesson plans. I'm going to find one other one that I shared with the class, privacy and security, and I believe it was grade 5 class. This is the lesson that I shared last winter in January with a grade 5 class, and it was about media balance. And maybe it was grade 6. And it was a very powerful lesson. We were asking the students about how they, how much time they spend online. And actually the students, the teachers and myself, we weren't quite prepared to hear what the students had to say. It was actually kind of heartbreaking to hear some of the stories that the students had to say about, some of the things they're experiencing when they're growing up these days. For instance, one child told a story about, playing a soccer game and scoring a big goal to force the game into an overtime, and looked up and the parents were on their cell phones and they missed the goal. Just different stories like that. So it's there it is there, finding a media balance. Finding my media balance. So what does media balance mean for me? So helping students learn what makes media choices healthy or not is a good start, but how do we help them actually make responsible choices in the real world? Give your students the opportunity to create a personalized media plan. So this is one, like I said, I did last year with a grade 5 class, and very, very powerful lesson. So that is commonsense.org. Highly, highly recommend it. And like I said, it's probably my favorite source to go to if you're looking for ideas and suggestions for lessons. All right, on to the next one. That was the lesson I was just talking about, finding my media balance. Microsoft has a website called Digital Citizenship EDU, and it's geared more for teens and parents to discover how to address cyberbullying. So this is something you might be interested in, especially if you're a middle school teacher. There's some great lessons there. It's more of an educational blog type site. You can sign up for a newsletter. The next one I'm going to share with you is from the Alberta Teachers Association, and it's called tolearn.ca. And we'll take a quick look at their site. So they've got some lessons, some digital citizenship lessons that you can share with your students. And these are geared for students in grades 4 to 6. And I believe there's 7 lessons there. Okay. So when you have a little bit more time this summer, you can go in and have a look at some of those lessons and see if those are of interest to you. On to number 5. This is another Canadian site that you can visit. It's called MediaSmarts, and it's Canada's Centre for Digital Literacy and Media Literacy. I have to put a hyperlink onto the site. It's got some teacher resources, and it also has some lesson plans. There's my link. Okay, so once again, it's got some sample lessons that you can use with your students. All right, so that's MediaSmarts, Canada Centre for Digital Literacy and Media Literacy. Google has a site called Digital Wellbeing, and it's a site to help you find a balance with technology that feels right for you. So as technology becomes more and more integral to everything that we do, it can sometimes distract us from things that matter most to us. We believe technology should improve life, not distract from it. So we're committed to giving everyone the tools they need to develop their own sense of digital well-being, so that life, not technology, not the technology in your life, stays front and center. So it allows you to reflect on your relationships with tech and get tips and tools to help you achieve your personal sense of digital well-being. So that's a site from Google. So you might want to check that one out. It's a little bit different than the other one, but it just helps you to find that balance that you need. The last one I'm going to share with you is a resource that I came across recently from the people at Book Creator. And it's a book that you can put into your Book Creator library. If you're not using Book Creator, you might want to go to their website, www.bookcreator.com, and create an account. And they actually give you 2 libraries. They give you a personal library and they give you a public library. And in each of these libraries, you have 40 books. All right. So you can actually download this book, and there's some great ideas that you can share with your students. So let's take a quick look to see what's inside this book. The author is Monica Burns. Okay. And you can read the book online. And in this book, Monica looks at how teachers can promote digital citizenship in the classroom and have students demonstrate their learning in this book. She suggests some really useful resources and activities for learning about digital citizenship, drawing on the expertise of the people at ISTE and commonsense.org. She spotlights some real-life classroom examples from other teachers using the book. All right, so let's take a look at her agenda here. So she has an introduction. She's got different topics here that she's covering, some of which we've already discussed: privacy and security, footprint, relationships, cyberbullying, and so on. So she has some ideas, some suggestions in here for activities that students can do inside of Book Creator. Okay, so creating a media log, all right, staying safe online. So just different activities that students can do. So that's a nice resource that I came across recently, and I thought I would share that one with you. So if you have any questions, you can email me at butlerp@ccrce.ca. I'm on Twitter at Paul_coach. And if you have any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out and communicate with me and let me know. And hopefully this slideshow has some suggestions as to where you can go to find some ideas for lessons for your students and to start those conversations with your students.